welcome to Soflex Math. Today we're going to go over the Soflex Math 5th grade mastery course game booklet. We're going to review a lot of the games that we had in our mastery course, as well as a few new ones that we didn't have in the course, but they will tie right into our standards, and I think they'll be fun for you to play and review as well. So let's jump right in and look at our game list to start. All right, so we have place value 10 questions, countdown 300, flex 5, pyramid of facts, Soflex risk, target time, path to victory. The Soflex risk and the target time are two new games that we will learn today. The others will be reviews from what we've already gone over. All right, so the format of the book is going to have a direction page, which lists the game, place value 10 questions at the top, how many players can play, this one is for 2 to 5 players, and then a step-by-step direction list of how to play. So I'm not going to waste my time or waste your time reading the directions to you. You can read those, but we will look at a review of how to play. So let's take a look at the next page, which is the game board. All right, so the game board here, if you remember, one player is going to create that mystery number. And for example, it might be 3,221. They have to tell you how many place values there are. So they don't tell you the number, but they do tell you it's in the thousands, so you need 4 place values. So you would set up your 1, 2, 3, 4 lines or 4 place values. If it was 5, you'd obviously have 5. And if there was a whole number and a decimal, you'd have to obviously put the decimal in the right spot. So they'd have to say there's 2 whole numbers, and then there's 2 places in the decimal. But regardless of how many spots there are, you still number it from 0 to 9 under each one, and that's how you're going to cross it out as you go. So when you ask a question like, is there an odd number in the tens, they will answer yes or no, and you just kind of cross those out. So that's a quick review of our first game. Let's go on to our next game. So our second game is Countdown 300. And this is for 2 players. And once again, same format. Here's the step-by-step directions. Remember, you'll need 2 red dice and then 1 blue dice for this particular game. So the way you'll set up this game is on one column, you're going to have where you're going to write down all the problems that you rolled. So remember, you have 2 of the one color. So for example, you'll add those together. So 3 plus 2 is 5. And then you multiply by the other color dice. So 5 times 4 would be 20. Okay, and your second column, everyone starts at 300, and you're going to subtract that amount. So whatever you rolled, you subtract. So 300 minus 20 would be 280. Then your partner will roll, and so on. You go back and forth. On your next roll, you'll write down the problem and the answer, and then you'll subtract from 280. And you'll keep going back and forth. And remember, the goal of this game is to get down to exactly 0. Remember, if you, for example, down here have the number 24, but you roll a 30, well, you can't go into negative numbers. You want to get to exactly 0. So that's a case where you'd lose your turn and you'd go back to 24. And there's a chance for your partner to kind of catch up. Maybe they were behind, but they'll have a couple of rounds maybe to catch you. So never give up. You always have a chance to make a comeback in this particular game. All right, next up we have Flex 5. This is also for 2 players, and our directions are here for you. I'll let you look at those for a moment. And remember, with this one, when we set up our game board, we do not want to use any prime numbers, but we're going to use all double-digit numbers. So let's take a look at what this game board looks like. All right, so this one you can either use my game board, and both players could use the same game board, or you can create your own numbers. But the key is that you're going to have a 5 by 5 grid. So 5 rows across and 5 columns up and down, filled in with numbers between 10 and 99, making sure that you don't have any prime numbers. Okay. Then what you're going to do, remember, you're going to roll 2 dice and add those together. So for example, 3 plus 4 would be 7. You're going to look on your board. Do you have any multiples of 7? And chances are you're going to have a lot of different answers. So like you could have a 21, you could have a 42, a 63. There's going to be a lot of answers each time. But you can only choose one to cross out each roll or each round. So let's say you pick the 21, that's fine. Then your partner would go on their board, and then it comes back to you. Your goal is to try to get 5 in a row vertically, which is up and down, horizontally, across, or diagonally. And the first player to do that, to hit 5 in a row, will be the winner. So each person is rolling and marking on their own game board, taking turns. And the first one to get 5 in a row would be the winner. All right, our next game is Pyramid of Facts. This is for 2 to 4 players. And once again, you're going to create 3 of these pyramids. I'll show you on the next screen. And you're going to roll either 1 or 2 dice. So if you want a single digit number like a 3, you'd only roll 1 dice. If you were trying to get the number 24, you'd roll 2 dice and try to roll a 2 and a 4, and you just kind of put them together. And what you're doing is you're trying to complete all the fact families to create or complete your pyramid. So here's an example of what these would look like. So you have your 3 pyramids here, your 3 triangles, and you're going to be rolling dice, and your job is to try to complete all 3 sections. So for example, 7, 3, and 21. Why? Because 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 7 would be 21. 21 divided by 7 is 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So you're really just working on your fact families. So for example, if you had 21 and a 3, you'd only roll 1 dice because you're trying to roll a 7. Okay? And you'll want to use the 10-sided dice for this. That way you can work on numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the first person to complete all 3 of their fact family pyramids would be the winner. If you roll and you can't fit the number in somewhere, that's where you lose your turn, and maybe your partner will have a chance to win the game then. All right, here's a new game. This one's called Soflex Risk for 2 to 4 players, and this one has to do kind of with problem solving and critical thinking, as well as some probability. So we don't have probability necessarily in our 5th grade standards, but it's still something that you will need for 6th grade moving forward. And it's also just the critical thinking that we should always have. So I'm going to go to the game board. I think it'll be easier to see how to play this game from there. All right, so Soflex Risk, here is your game board. Each one of these vertical columns where it says Soflex is each person. So you can see player 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so what you're going to do here, this game takes a little bit of a strategy. So you're going to roll between 2 and 7 dice. And when you roll those 2 to 7 dice, you're going to try to get any number. Remember, these are 10-sided dice. So any number except for the number 1 on any of the dice. So if you roll a 1, that round is going to count as 0. If you roll the dice and you have all the other numbers, 3s, 5s, 6s, and so on, you're going to add all those up, and that's going to be your total for this round. Now, here's the thing. If you roll 2 dice, there's not that big of a chance that you're going to get a 1, but you can only get so many points. If you roll all 7 dice, there's a better chance to get a 1, but there's also a better chance to get a lot more point values. So each one of these letters is your round. So the S round, O, F, L, E, and X. So as you go through each round, you're going to add up your grand total, and whoever has the biggest score at the very end is going to be the winner. So you have to use a little bit of strategy, because if your partner is way ahead, you might want to take more of a risk. So like Soflex Risk, you want to take a risk, because you might only roll 2 dice, but then there's no way you're ever going to catch up. Okay, but you might want to roll 6 or 7. And at the same time, your strategy, if you're really winning by a lot, you might only want to roll 2. Be a little bit more conservative or more safe. So there is some strategy involved. Just kind of a fun game, just to kind of think and see how you do. All right, our next game is called Target Time. Once again, 2 to 4 players, and here are the directions again. And I'm going to go to the game board and kind of explain it from there. All right, this time you're going to pick a target number, and it's going to be the same for all the players. So if you have 4 players, they're all going to use the same target number. And it could be numbers in the hundreds, in the thousands, 10,000s. It could be 2 whole numbers with 2 place values in the decimals. It doesn't matter. You just create those numbers. So if I created the number, let's just say 780, for example. Okay, that means player 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're all going after the target number of 780. Okay, and what you're going to do for this game is you're going to grab the equal amount of dice to the place values. So 780 has the 1s, 10s, and 100s, 3 place values. So each player is going to roll 3 dice. Okay, If the number was in the thousands, 4 place values, then each player would grab 4 dice. Okay? You're going to roll all 4, and then what you can do here, though, is you can rearrange them. You're going to rearrange them by place value to try to get as close as you can to the target number. And it doesn't matter if you're a little bit above or a little bit below. So you're just trying to get as close, in our first example of 780. So you're trying to get as close to 780 as you can. And you can rearrange those numbers however you want. Okay, then you're going to go ahead and subtract to see how far off you were. And that's what's going to go in this little circle here, so the distance away. So let's just say player 1 was 30 away, player 2 was 50 away. Well, whoever has the lower number, that means you're closer. So the lower number is going to win. You're going to get a point. And then the first player, after 5 rounds, or however many rounds it takes to get 5 points, is the winner of the ultimate game. So once again, that's kind of a new game. Hopefully that's a little fun for you. It works on place value and number sense, and I think it'll really help you out. All right, so let's go on to our, I think we're down to our final game. All right, so this game is called Path to Victory. It's for 2 players, okay? And each player is going to create their own game board with 5 steps on their path. So let me go ahead and show you what that game board looks like. And on the directions, I said only 2 players, but you could really play with up to however many you want. You could play up to 4 if you wanted. It might be just a little easier to play with 2. But you're going to have these color-coded system using the dice that you have, the 10-sided dice. So the ones column is going to be represented by the red dice, and then the tens is going to be represented by the blue, hundreds green, and then yellow for thousands if you're doing whole numbers. If you want to be a little more challenging, you can try decimals. Then you're going to use 3 dice. You're going to use the red one, it's going to be the tenths column. The blue one will be the hundredths column, and then the green one will be the thousandths column. So you're either doing whole numbers or you're doing decimals. It's the same game, but you can just kind of choose how difficult you want to make it. Decimals are probably a little bit tougher than the whole numbers. All right. So then you're going to take a look at the game board. So each column or each path is for each player. So it starts with least and goes all the way up to greatest. Each one kind of has 5 steps or 5 sections to their path. Okay, and you're going to roll the dice and you're going to match it up with those color codes. So the red has to come first and so on and so on. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to put down your numbers from least to greatest. So it's going to take you at least 5 rolls to get them from least to greatest. And what you're going to do is once you put it on here, that's it. You can't erase it. You can't change your mind. Once you put it on there, you put it on there. And then your next player goes and so on. Your job is to try to get your 5 decimals or your 5 whole numbers from least to greatest in a row before your partners or your opponents can. And once again, if you get a number that doesn't fit because you have numbers here and your number came in the middle, that's where you would lose your turn. And then that's where your partner would have a chance to win that game. All right, so those are some fun games. Give them a try, see if you like them. They'll help you with your math facts, and we'll show you one more resource in our next video. So once again, thanks for joining us at Soflex Math, and have fun playing the games.